so much for tuning in today. My name is Amanda, and I'm a mortgage trainer. I love teaching different classes to realtors. I think that this is information that you guys should have, and I really want to be a part of your guys' success story. I think a lot of times what happens with agents is that they get their license, and then a lot of times they just aren't informed of how to grow their business, how to make sure that they're thriving. And so really all of the classes that I teach are to teach you different ways to be able to grow your business and sustain it over a lifetime. Every person is different. So I hope that you use these different tips and tricks that can help you win listing presentations. I have several, well, I wouldn't say several hundred, but I have so many realtor partners that I've met in my almost 9 years of being in the industry. And for me, I have sat in on dozens and dozens of listing presentations, and I've seen what realtors do wrong and I see what realtors do right. I've seen them win listings and I've seen them lose listings. So a lot of the things that you guys will be hearing today were things that I've heard from other agents and things that they were implementing in their business that were just super successful. And I work with a lot of really top producing agents who know how to do this stuff really, really well. So you guys will be learning from the top experts in this field. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. If you guys have questions, if you can, go ahead and put them in the chat box. Whenever I come to a stop, I will go in and check them, though you have to understand I have to block them off right now just because I want to make sure I'm staying in my train of thought. So if you do have questions, go ahead and put them in that chat box and I will eventually get to them, but it may just take me a little bit of time to get there. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into this. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my little camera. All right, and throw this down here. So let's talk about what we're going to be going over today in today's class. So we're going to talk about how you can prepare for that initial appointment, right? You've already done the prospecting, you've gotten that appointment set. Now you need to get ready for it, because if you go into this appointment and you are not prepared, people can feel that energy, they can sense it. And for them, they don't want to do business if they don't know that you're ready to do business. So it's super important that you do your due diligence up front, you do your homework, and you set that right up in the front so that you go into this appointment knowing what you're talking about and you don't have anything you need to second guess. We'll also be talking about how to sell yourself. I can't tell you how many agents that I've met that just don't have what it takes to be realtors because they don't know how to be a very happy, very confident, very person who is going to help a client versus these, agents who are just very quiet, who don't know how to be very confident, and these are the agents that don't land the listings because they don't know how to sell themselves. And that's a big part of these going into these. You got to have that confidence. Then we're going to talk about outlining your market strategy. Now, when it comes to listings and how to market a house, there are so many different ways to do it. So I'm going to give you some tips on different ways that you can market houses, but ultimately it'll be your choice on how you want to market your listings. That is really where you're going to talk to your clients and outline what your strategy is and what works for you and your business. Then we're going to go over comps, pricing, and the pitfalls of overpricing. This is a big one. I think a lot of agents are still trying to figure out how comps work, how to price houses, and really just make sure that they're pricing it at the right one so that they don't overprice the house and the house isn't sitting, nobody's being happy because the house is not selling, you are losing out on marketing money by the day, and we don't want that to happen. So we want you to price the house correctly. We want you to understand how these comps work and make sure that your client is satisfied with what you're pricing it as and you can justify how you're getting there. Then we want to talk about how you justify your commission. I think this is a very, very hard conversation to have with your clients if you don't know how to justify your value. And we'll talk about how you can do that. Then we're going to talk about setting proper expectations, something your clients need to prepare for, which is anything that they have to prepare for this listing, they're going to need to know that. And then handling objections. I know there's so many objections when you go through these consultations. So you want to make sure you're on your toes and that you know what you're talking about so that these clients know, okay, she's answered all of my questions, even all the stuff that I was kind of, a little questioning, and she did it. So that's why I want to work with this person, because they were able to overcome those objections. So those are all the items we'll be talking about today. I hope that you guys find value in this. So some of the biggest key things in your appointments, the biggest thing is going to be identifying their motivation. Their motivation will literally outline everything you need to know. You need to know, do they need to sell fast? Do they want to sell, for a certain price point? Do they think their house is worth $1 million? You need to figure out what is important to them, because you're going to use that throughout your presentation to remind them of what their goals are, and making sure that you're also staying on task with what they need to get done, which would therefore make them want to work with you. If you keep pushing clients away from their goals, then you have to understand that for those clients, they always feel you're too pushy and they don't want to work with somebody who's trying to push them further away than their goals. You want to understand what their goals are, you want to respect their goals, and then you want to help them achieve them. Analyzing numbers is another key part in winning your listing presentation. This is a big part, and this is why I actually like to attend my realtors' listing appointments with them. When it comes to the numbers, it has to make sense, whether they're downsizing, whether they're upsizing, or, very rarely will you have a client that is going to sell their house and go and rent. If they are, then you just need to remind them why they don't want to rent, or understand why they're not renting, and that might make more sense for you. But you never want a client to go back into renting, because that's just money down the drain, especially when they've already been a homeowner. Your goal will be to get them into a new home. So hopefully you're not only just getting your listing, but you're also getting their purchase. Now, when it comes to the number part of it, you need to understand, what are their payment max? Are they okay with putting down all the funds that they needed to? Did they need to put down, or did they need to pay off debt? So when it comes to analyzing these numbers, it's very crucial that you have a loan officer who's hand in hand with you, that will help you make sure that you're getting the numbers correct. Because when it comes to numbers, people don't play. They want to know true numbers. This is their new goals, and these are what they're trying to envision for their family. So it's best that we get those numbers down and locked in, so there's no more ifs, ands, or buts. Then we're going to talk about building trust and selling your value. Now, when it comes to building trust, it's so hard for agents to now come into these appointments and really do it. But if you do it right, they're going to earn your trust. You're going to earn their trust in that consultation, because you are going to do them the due diligence. Then you're going to sell the value. There's always value in selling houses. So you want to pitch that in every single thing that you're talking about. All right, let's jump into preparing for that. So when we're getting ready for this new appointment, it's super important that we get on a call with the clients and we go over some pre-listing questions. This will really help you to identify some of their biggest goals and will help you getting better with your presentation. So why are you selling, right? That's the big question. What's going on? Or do you need to get into a bigger house? Are you downsizing? Do you have to move for work? Why is it that you are selling this home? Did you, need to do something different, or you just don't like your house of where the neighborhood is? These are all important things to understand from the client, because they're telling you what their goals are very clearly, and then you can make sure that you're following those. Next one is, what are your goals? Right? We want to hear those goals. We want to remember what those goals are, and we want to make sure we're trying to get as close as possible to those goals. Because when you try and get super close to the goals that they are, or at least reach those goals, they're more enticed to recommend you to their family, which is going to create more business for you in the future. As realtors, heavy part of our business is getting referrals. So we need to make sure that we're asking for the goals and we're following it, versus pushing and point and swaying people, because those are the people that never want to come back because they felt you were too pushy. Are there any other decision makers in the household? Are there spouses, or is there any co-owners? Ask them if they're going to be in the appointment with them. If they are, fantastic. If they're not, then you need to also remember that because there is other decision makers, that the person that you're meeting with isn't the final call. You need to make sure that you've connected with every person who has a say, and that you've talked about everything that you need to talk about, because also too, you don't want to be that person that talked to one person, didn't talk to the other person, and then got, caught up in between, people being upset. So don't ever do that. Always ask, okay, well, is there any other decision makers that we need to include in this consultation? If there aren't available, do you know when I might be able to connect with them so that I can go over everything that I went over with you? I want to make sure that they're happy and satisfied. And so when I say things like that, they're more like, okay, I get it. She knows what she's talking about. She knows that, she wants to respect my other people who are involved in this. And I love that about that. And what do you own, or what do you owe on your home? So we need to figure out how much they owe on their house. If they still have a loan, it's important that we order a payoff demand as quickly as possible. These payoff demands are very easy to do. You can usually just call the company of wherever their mortgage is, and they're usually automated on the phone, so you can do it through there, or you can have the client do it through their portal. But getting a payoff demand is something that's very important when you're getting ready to do this listing presentation, so that you're working with true numbers. A lot of times they add in extra fees, so you want to make sure you know what those fees are and that you've prepared your client for it. Have you done any renovations? Asking this question opens up the door to just figuring out what their mindset is and how much money they've invested in their house, because not only are they paying their house down every single year and benefiting from the market and growing equity in that way, but many people, when they buy their own homes, they take that initiative now because they don't have a landlord that's going to tell them they can't do anything to their house. So they want to take that step of renovating their house to their specific needs. So you want to figure out what those are. You want to figure out how much they've invested in those renovations, because this will help you in the listing presentation. We also need to know if this is a personal home or a rental home, or if the home is occupied or vacant. That's super important. If the house is vacant, those houses usually go very, very quick. When it comes to a house that's occupied, granted, it still could get sold very quickly, but you just need to understand when it's occupied, we need to count for people moving out and people moving in and things like that. Is there anything that needs to get repaired? Now, when you ask this question, always just keep in the back of your mind, you're really just trying to get their opinion here. It's better to get somebody who is a professional out to the house to give you a concrete of what may need to be repaired. If you can get a home inspection up front, if you can talk to your clients about doing that up front, it'll save you a whole lot of headache. Then you know what is wrong with the house, and you know what a buyer will find if they go through their inspections, and that will help us to be able to negotiate a stronger position and a deal for your client. What would you be open to getting a home inspection before the listing, which is just exactly what I was saying. If they're open to doing that, absolutely pitch that. What do you think that your home will sell for? And not every client knows this answer, and sometimes you might get that pushback of, well, you're the person who does this, so we're going to go with what you say. And yes, granted, that is great, but you want to always get them to at least give you a gist of what they're thinking in their head, because your idea of what their house may be and their idea of what their house may be very different. We have to understand that a lot of times when clients are thinking, okay, what is my house worth? Their automatic is, let me Google it. Let me go on Zillow. Let me go on Trulia and try and see what my house is like. And if you are an experienced agent, you should know that those are not true values. And as much as I wish they were, the truth is that a lot of times they are just using these as marketing tools like Zillow and stuff. So they put houses on there that are not even listed. So these houses, the value amounts are never correct. And it's always best that you do your due diligence versus the clients, telling you, oh, I seen my house on Zillow and it was worth 580, but you did the comps and it was at 520. So at least if you can get an idea of where they're at, and then you can justify, okay, these are not the types of things, then you can hopefully build a little bit more rapport with your client and understand their state of mind. How familiar are you with this process? I think that's a great question to ask, because sometimes you'll meet clients that are like, I've sold 1 million houses. I know what I'm doing. I know what I want. This is how I want to do it here. This is what you have to work with. But you may have other clients that are like, this is the first time I'm selling my house. I really have no idea what I need to go through here. And those are the clients that you want to take a little bit of extra time going through everything, because those are the ones you need to nurture a little bit so that they're happy at the end of it and that they feel like you did them a due diligence. And then the final question that you want to end out with is, everything sounds great and price is exactly where you want it to be. Would you be open to putting your house on the market when we meet? And I think this is a great question, because then you're already setting them up where we've already going to touch on everything that was important to you. We've talked about your goals. We know this. And now I want to go for the shot. And that's it. Will you let me list your house? And at this appointment, we can do that if you're okay with it. So that's another great way to end out that pre-listing appointment call. When you're doing this, it's always just to hear out their goals, see a little bit of what we're working with, kind of do your little bit of homework. Then we're going to jump into getting a listing packet out to the client. Now, these listing packets, there are so many different ones that you can select online. You can, pay for them, or you can download some free ones. But I think it's a great way of being able to just go to your client and show them, okay, this is who I am, right? And these are things you're going to want to include. Who am I, right? This is not something you want to go over in your listing appointment, but if you had a packet, you could identify who you were, why they should do business with you, what your mission is, and your commitment. When I say your mission and commitment, people need to know why you're doing what you're doing, and tell them that you're going to work, as hard as possible to get their house listed. And people are super loving of that. They want to know that you're committed to working for them and helping them get what they need to get done. And so when you show them that commitment and mission, it kind of ties everything together. You also want to say what you do different. There are so many realtors out there right now, and you're competing against millions of different realtors. So what do you do different? What makes you stand out? You also can include things like your past client reviews. If your clients love you, then they're always going to want to write nice reviews about you. And if you can include some of your best reviews in there, people will know, okay, well, hey, look at the things that this person said. And maybe they might be saying, you did an amazing job. You did, from beginning to end, you took your time, you explained everything. And those are the ones that the clients are like, okay, I see that. I see that you did your due diligence with those clients, and that makes me want to work with you a little bit more. Also, if you can, include some of your inventory, other houses or other things that you've sold successfully. Show them that you know what you're doing. Now, if you're a newer agent and you're still trying to get inventory started, then you don't have to include that. But if you're an established agent, you have a history of being able to sell houses, include your inventory, or at least some of your active inventories. You can say, look, at these are other houses that I have going. This is what I do. This is what I'm great at. This is what I'm going to do to sell your house. Now, you also want to include a lot of education in this pre-listing packet. Now, some clients will go through every single page, some clients won't, but if you can include a little bit of education, then it'll make your pre-listing package look a little bit more flawless. So how the home selling process from beginning to end, getting that house listed, pre-listing, all the way out to closing out that transaction. What are they going to go through? They need to understand that. And if you can at least have this in a pre-listing packet and you can show it to them, they're going to say, okay, this is what I'm going through, and they'll have a visual aid as well. Marketing. There's so many different avenues for marketing, but when you're going through your pre-listing, you're going to show all the different marketing, but when you go through the appointment, you're going to show more specifically what your idea is for their marketing plan. You also want to prepare them for how to get their house ready for viewings. If you can include a little checklist, they're going to really appreciate that, especially when they're getting their house ready and they're going to be like, okay, well, what do I need to do to make my house look a little bit more appealing so that it sells faster? So if you can include that in your pre-listing package, it really goes a long way. You want to include local marketing statistics. If you can include what's going on in that market, that is stuff that they want to know. They want to see how their house is thriving, if it's going bad, and really what's going on in their neighborhood. Some Q&A questions, just basic Q&A questions that you may get asked, frequently in your guys' consultations. When you go through these Q&A questions or you put them into a little sheet, always know that you want to answer questions that are something that you don't want to have to go over it in a consultation. But if you need to, you can always retouch on it in a consultation. But these Q&A questions, these are just great ways to kind of have it in your packet and give an opportunity of, if they need that question, they can go back to reference. Visual aids and infographics. So if you can include really nice imaging, really great infographics on where the house is in the market, the process, and this all really goes a long way. It's all about the presentation. Everything needs to look flawless when you're going through these. Now, I do have a couple of listing packets that I can send out to agents who need them co-branded. So if you would like to get something like that, please feel free to reach out to me and I will get you guys set up with these pre-listing packets. So selling you, right? We talked about it. The first impression is everything. When you're going into this consultation, you need to know what you're talking about. You need to be confident. You need to smile. Smiling is such an easy thing to do, but so many people forget to do it. But when you smile, it's contagious and people will feel your energy. They see your positivity. They see that you are the person for the job. You also want to stay positive. Now, you have to be realistic because not every listing goes according to plan. But it's your job as the agent to tell them, yes, there are some ugly things that can happen in the listing, but luckily I'm really good at my job. And I'm going to make sure that even if something does arise, that we figure out how to problem solve through it. And that at the end of it, you sell your house for top dollar and everybody is happy. When you say things like that and you're constantly letting them know that yes, stuff can happen, because stuff can happen, at least you're giving them a due diligence of telling them, yes, it can happen, but it's okay if it does, because I know what I'm doing and I'm going to make sure that we get through this no matter what. And always keeping that positive attitude really goes a long way. I always get compliments from every client of mine telling me how I'm always so positive, but for me, it's that I don't stop at anything. There is not going to be a single thing that stops me from being able to close a transaction because I know how to problem solve. Problem solving is another key part that you need to be able to do as an agent. You want to be on time for your appointment. Don't be late. I think that's such an easy thing to do. Be on time. If you are one of those people who is always late for everything, book yourself like an hour in advance for just getting there and or getting to get ready or mentally prepared for it. Not driving time, not time for you to do your makeup, not time for you to get dressed, time for you to just be present, be getting in the right mindset and being prepared. And you'll really be thankful for having that little bit of an hour buffer time, because I know sometimes when you go into consultations, you get those little butterflies in your stomach or you're feeling a little nervous. But if you can give yourself some time to do a little bit of soft meditation, some deep breathing, that really channels through every single time. You also want to value their time. Everybody has only 24 hours in a day. And I don't care if you're $1 million, everybody's time is valuable. Even if you are a person who doesn't value your own time, you need to value your client's time. Your client's time is valuable and you need to remember that it is, and you never want to take too much of it because they need to get what they need to get done in their lives as well. You want to dress for success. I know that might sound like a kind of lame one, but dressing for success really goes a long way. I've been in a consultation, oh my gosh, you guys might laugh at this, where a realtor partner of mine wore flip-flops. And all I kept thinking in my head was, oh my God, they're going to think you're like wanting to go hang loose and ride a surfboard or something. You're wearing flip-flops to an appointment. He did not land that listing presentation. I wouldn't say it was because he was wearing flip-flops, but I'm just saying, flip-flops really in a consultation, definitely go for wearing something a little bit more clean cut. Making yourself look more clean is always better. Being honest and work with integrity. Now, working with integrity is a big part. When I'm talking about working with integrity, is that be that person who isn't the person who's trying to push people into something they don't want to do. I have met many agents that unfortunately don't care about clients. I'm not that person. I hope you're not that person. I think that integrity and being honest, being truthful, it really goes a long way. People see that. And even if you have to be honest and tell them the ugly, they're more appreciative than you could imagine. Listen to your clients and never over talk over them. When a client is speaking to you, it may be really hard for you to bite down on your teeth, don't say a word, allow for them to get what they need to say, and then give yourself an opportunity to address what they're saying or go over what you need to. But if you talk over a client, they feel that. And I've had many of my clients say, oh, I didn't like this and this person because they never let me get a word in, or anytime I asked a question, they would talk about something else. And they weren't really getting to what I needed to get addressed. And don't be that agent. It's so easy for you to just bite down on your teeth, allow for your clients to say what they need to because they want to be heard. And if you can allow for them to be heard, it really, really, really is beneficial. All right, outlining your marketing strategy. So was there any questions on how to sell yourself? Okay, let me go into the chat box here. That's a fantastic question. As a new realtor, do you have to tell your client that you're a new agent? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You don't need to tell them. Though they may ask you what your experience is, and you need to be prepared with a question that can answer that. And if you are a new agent, it's okay. It's not a problem. What you can say is, yes, I may be a new agent, but You have to understand that I make sure that I've learned everything that I need to possibly learn, and I'm hungry. I want this listing. I'm going to work as hard as possible, and it will have my total focus. Clients really appreciate when you say things like that because, yes, you may be new, and that's okay. But chances are, if you know what you're talking about, you do your homework, then they don't have a reason to not work with you. Now, if you're a new agent and you're going in and you're not prepared, then you have to understand that there is more enticing to not work with you because you may not know what you're talking about. So do your homework, learn your stuff, make sure you know what you're talking about so that they want to work with you, even if you are a new agent. I hope that answers your question. So let's go ahead and jump into marketing strategies. So talk about a little bit about the timeline that the clients need to go through from beginning to end. So first and foremost, we did that initial call. We were reviewing their goals. I was making sure I was hearing what they wanted to get done, what was a priority to them. Then we secured the financing, right? That's where the loan officer comes into play. They're going to do that pre-approval and make sure that the numbers make sense. Not every client's numbers make sense. And that is a huge part in the listing portion because if somebody is going into a new financing option and it doesn't work for their family, then they're not going to move forward. So landing that secured financing is really, really important and vital that you take care of that as quickly as possible. If you can get your loan officer to be in your consultations with you, then better because you can do a pre-qualification in that consultation. I'd probably say on average a pre-qualification from beginning to end, if you have all of your documents, takes about an hour to get through. So it's something that you can definitely do an appointment while somebody is doing the listing presentation. The loan officer on the side can be doing the financing portion and really making sure that you guys are connecting all both ends. Discussing your selling strategy. Now, when you're talking about the selling strategy, this is where we're talking about the marketing. This is how you're planning to sell their house, how you plan to get their house on the market, and all the things you're going to do for them while that house is being listed. Then you're going to complete a marketing analysis and determine sales price. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but yes, you're going to have to go through these market analysis top to bottom and really make sure that you're doing your due diligence. Hopefully, after all of that is said and done, you've gone over their goals, you've met their goals, you've secured the financing, you've discussed your strategy, you've gotten the price point. Now you're going to get into finally your sales agreement. After that, the house is going to be getting ready to be listed and active. So for the listed and active, we are going to want to get the house professionally photos taken. Now, I know that agents get a little scared about taking professional photos because they're of the price that it may cost. Now, you may be happy to know that there are many, many places that do them for very, very cheap. And I know a couple, so if you need to get a recommendation, but really, if you're paying maybe about $150 to $200 for professional photos and they give you maybe 20 photos, that goes more a longer way than you taking a cell phone picture, posting it on, and they can tell that they're cell phone pictures. It doesn't make the house look the most beautiful, and professional photos over cell phone photos, professional photos any day, smash them out of the water. So you want to be the person that has the professional photos taken up front and quickly and easily. So if you need recommendations, please reach out to me on that one. Then you get the house listed on the MLS. Now that's where you guys go into play and you guys are getting that house. You want to make sure that you are putting a really strong, amazing description for each house and making sure that you're not putting anything that they can find out on, like bedrooms and bathrooms. No, we want to talk about the amenities. What makes this house different? What vibes are you feeling in this house? What could people envision for themselves in that house? What type of lifestyle would they be going into? So those are the types of things you want to include in the description, not so much the house was built in 1979 and it has 3 bedrooms, 4 baths, and it's down the street from the mall. Like down the street from the mall actually would be a really good one, but you can probably understand what I'm trying to say is you don't want to put anything in there that they can already read that is going to be a description on there. Marketing campaign start. So this is where you're getting all of your marketing off the ground. Maybe you're starting your ads. Now, I know right now we're not able to do open houses, but when we finally do get back to doing open houses, I cannot stress it enough. That is the best way, hands down, to get a house seen. And I love doing open houses because it's like a farm of just people who want answers on house financing, who want to buy houses, who have dreams of buying houses. So open houses are gold, completely gold mines. Now I know I've seen some agents doing the virtual open houses, which bravo to them. That's such a creative way of being able to still get people in the house, get people talking. So if you're able and you're capable of doing an virtual open house, that's a great way of being able to do it right now. And then showings. So your showings is, hopefully you have a book of business where you can show to your clients as well. If not, the showings from other agents. Offers and negotiations. So you go through your offers and negotiations. This is where you're basically trying to make sure that you're doing your due diligence for your client and fighting for the best deal possible. Hopefully you are getting the best deal possible on both ends. Everybody's happy. Once everybody is happy and you guys are able to accept an offer, we go through the escrow. Now, we have to understand escrows as much as we wish they were 24-hour kind of thing, depending on if it's a cash buyer or if it's a buyer that's going to be financed, which cash buyers are there, but they're rare. So majority of the time, your client's going to have to go through financing. And there are so many hurdles you have to get through when it comes to the financing portion to it. So you always want to make sure that even if your clients are going through an escrow, that you're staying on top of the loan officer that is conducting business with you, so that they're staying on task, that you're getting through your escrow as smooth as possible. Your loan officer and you, which your loan officer who's representing the buyer, should be in communication. I'd probably say once every day if you can, or at least a couple times in the week. So everybody knows what's going on. You can keep your clients informed. Your clients are looking to you for answers. So if you go several days without ever updating them, they're going to be like, why did I choose to work with this person? I don't know what's going on with my listing. I have been waiting and it's been, a week and they haven't said anything. Do I even want to do business with them if for whatever reason this loan doesn't go through? And so it's things like that that you need to be prepared for mentally, that people are watching for that. They want to have open communication from top to bottom. So making sure you're doing your job is super important. Once everything is said and done with the loan, and hopefully remove the loan contingencies and everything went smooth, then you get ready for closing, and then you'll get your clients the keys and or get them the keys to the buyer and close out everything. All right, let's jump into different creative ways to market houses. So there's so many different things that you can do. Professional photography should be a given. I think that that's something super easy to do, makes it go a long way. Yard signs and informative QR code with informative QR codes. Now, I don't know if you guys know what QR codes, but they're those little square boxes that if you have, say, for instance, an iPhone or an Android, you can pop out your camera, take a picture of the QR code, and it will pop up the link of whatever the site is for it. Now, creating a QR code is very easily. There are a lot of great websites that allow for you to create a QR code that links to a website. A really popular one is List Reports. There we go. Sorry, I couldn't think of that one. So List Reports is a really great one. It's free for agents. If you don't have List Reports, it's something that you can go right now, actually after today's class, and download for free. When you do the list reports, you have to understand that they don't work Saturday and Sunday. So if you need to get a house on the market and you want to get the advantages of the QR code in the single website, you need to do it on a Thursday or early on a Friday so that it gets approved, because they will link it with the MLS and they need to make sure that everything is what it is. Now, yard signs are so easy to do, and when you have your yard sign, if you can create that with a QR code or even put flyers out there with a QR code, that will go a long way, because people want to find out more about these things. On top of that listing, list reports, when you're on the QR code, it also gives you the capability to reach out to you directly. So that's another great way of people just easily being able to get in contact about a house that you have listed. Brochures. Brochures are so fantastic, and they do cost, so you need to be prepared. Now, for a newer agent, when it comes to cost of all these different things, it may be hard. And I know that you guys are still trying to figure out what to spend money on, but brochures could be done very cost effectively if you work with the right people. Depending on how many you're trying to get, if you probably got 100, you can probably do them for like $40. So it's not too bad. It's something easy you can do. It's something you can go pass around the neighborhood and letting them know, hey, this house is now listed. It's something that's in your local neighborhood, which is where people mostly want to relocate. They always want to stay relatively close to where they're at, because no person wants to just well, not no person, but many people choose to stay closer to the vicinity of where they're already at. Custom websites. So custom websites, there's so many different ones. New American Funding offers custom websites for listings if you guys wanted to opt in. But there are also hundreds of different websites and cool tools that you guys can use as agents to create a custom website. You should always have one, period. If you have a website for the listing, that will help show your sellers, oh my goodness, this person knows what they're doing. Custom website, very easy to do. So if you were able to do that, your sellers are going to be really appreciative and be really impressed. Then we can jump into social media posts and ads. Now, when it comes to the post can be a video, it can be a single post, it can be a scroll of photos of the house, but you gotta have some post on social media. Now, when you're doing these posts, it's also really important to tag many different hashtags of location and that are close to that listing, because anytime a person is looking for hashtags, they can search a hashtag now, and Instagram has made it even better where you can follow a specific one using ones like open house, buyers, selling houses. Very popular ones are going to attract people to coming into your social media posts. So you want to make sure that you do that and you do it really well. Now, with your post, you want to have a description about that. You can copy the one that you already put on your listing presentation or not. Maybe you want to make it a little bit shorter, talk about the highlights of this house, but you've got to have something on social media. Now, once you've created that post, you'll have the capability of creating it as an ad. Now, you do need to have a business Instagram page or a Facebook business page. In order, actually, you have to have Facebook to create the Instagram. So if you don't have your Facebook one, definitely work on making one as a business page. And then it'll allow for you to create an Instagram page as a business one, which both will give you the capabilities to be able to run ads. Ads are, oh my gosh, I love them. I run them all the time. I have them in my background, so I don't even have to touch them really, unless I get people who are messaging me so they want to buy houses or they want to look at refinancing or selling, whatever they're trying to do. I get notifications in my inbox of them responding to those ads. Now, when it comes to ads, they can get pricey, and you need to understand that they're not cheap if you want to get to a large sphere. But it's all in the way that you bring up those. I will be teaching a class on social media, and I'm going to show you my strategy of ads and how I do mine. So you guys can definitely tune into that class. I believe it's October 22nd. Now, once you've done your social media ads, you need to come up with a system to be able to go through each of these clients that are trying to reach out in regards to your house. Now, you may get a lot of people that are just asking what, if they can get in to see the house or what the house price is, and people just trying to figure out a little bit more about the house. That's okay. You just want to keep getting traffic on there so that people know about it, and hopefully they can also follow your pages on social media and want to do business with you, maybe not now, in the future. Google, Bing, and Yahoo ads. Now that's another great tool that you can do ads on these different ones. You have to understand when you're doing a Google Bing or a Yahoo ad, chances are who's going to see them are probably only the people who are searching under maybe articles, because these go on to websites that are doing, articles on stuff. Those are where the Google Bing ones go. And for those clients, maybe they might be doing research and maybe they might not be doing research. But if they have a house listing on there, then they might click into it and be able to say, wow, this has a really great house. I was looking for home buying, and this might be the house for us, and I'd like to submit an offer on this house. Premier exposure. So doing like Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia, those are great ways of being able to market the house. You can do the premier market exposure with them, and it allows for it to be boosted even higher so that it's seen by more and more people. A video. A video is such a great way of being able to show off a house. I have done so many awesome videos, and just from my phone. There are some really cool ones. Actually, I'm going to tell you the one that I use the most is one second. Oh my goodness, where did I have it? Okay, well, I'm gonna have to come back to it because I can't find it on my phone. Oh, here it is, quick. So Quick is a great one. It's an easy app that you can download really quick, and you can snapshot multiple small videos and then create it together. Now, when you go into Quick, it's really cool and user friendly because it already has preset video ones. So all you have to do is add text to it, and it has great music that you can select from, and it kind of just already integrates it all together into a small video. Now, if you would like to find out more about that video, I will be doing a demonstration of it in my next social media class. So tune in for that one because I will go over how I do videos on that one. Something that you can do is a free app, which everybody loves free. Everybody can do free. So take advantage of Quick because it's a great, great tool. Emailing campaigns. So as you start to grow your business, it's always important to have a CRM. If you don't have a CRM or you're a newer agent and you need to get a CRM, definitely make that a priority because this is going to be where you interact with your sphere of influence. Your sphere of influence is every person you connect with, from your family to your friends to your business partners to your coworkers. These are the people that you interact with, and they're your sphere of influence because they already know you. And chances are, if you told them something, they're going to trust what you say. So that's why I call that your sphere of influence. Now, when you're doing these email campaigns out, these are great ways of being able to keep in contact with your clients. So if you send out a campaign letting them know, hey, I have a new house listed, and granted, maybe your clients have already bought a house, or maybe you have a list of buyers, but if you're able to do these campaigns out to them, it's really great because they constantly are seeing information from you. They see new things that you have popping up on the market. They are able to share with their family if maybe their family is looking for a house in that specific area. So making sure you keep a good CRM and doing email campaigns will really go a long way. Open houses and virtual open houses. So we talked a little bit about that on our previous slide. Open houses are a gold mine. So always, always, always do open houses. If you're one of those agents who is a newer agent, I can't stress enough, if you are able to do an open house, once we get the capability of doing it again, because I know you guys can't right now, but if you can do one every single weekend, chances are you can land at least one strong lead per weekend or more if you're doing a good job. I don't think I've ever done an open house where I haven't at least converted 1 to 2 of my clients. So that's how good they are. Virtual open houses, once again, we just talked about that. Agent and broker previews. If you're able to do an agent broker preview, or if you're in a house market that is, I'd probably say $1 million plus, your chances are you're going to be searching and searching and searching for people to talk with that may have people who are qualified for the type of house that you're selling. And it's all about networking. So if you're able to reach out to local brokers in your neighborhood or wherever that house is being listed and asking them, hey, I have this listing, I would love to show it to you. Maybe you have some clients that are earning, X amount of dollars that may be able to qualify for this house. And I think it would be great if we did, a preview of this house just so that you can want to show it to your clients or get some of your clients out here so that they go and take a look at it. All right, the final one is going to be door knocking. Door knocking is so great, though I think right now with the pandemic going on, many people are probably not opening their doors, but if they are, then great. But with door knocking, we just have to be understanding right now. It's probably not the climate, but eventually it will come back and you'll have that capability of doing door knocking. Now, when it comes to door knocking, it's not even just for telling people in the neighborhood that they're selling the house, but it's also really great if you tell them, hey, I have clients that are pre-approved for this area or looking for houses. Would you be interested in listing your house? That's another great way of being able to be like, hey, I want to try and list house and by doing door knocking to do that. So definitely try that one out as well. I know I've seen a couple questions coming in. Let's go ahead and jump in. Custom website, is that different from the broker website? So it is different from the broker website. The broker website is what your broker is going to require of you, and every broker has their own requirements. So definitely make sure you're following their rules because they're the boss. And when we're talking about doing a custom website, if you go onto list reports, you can probably see a little bit more clearly what I'm talking about. But list reports has a single website that is dedicated to the house that will show all of the units in the house, but on the bottom of it, it also gives you the capability of messaging you directly about the house, which sometimes if you have it with the broker one, it's going to go through your broker and then it's going to get funneled to you. So that's just time, where your client is not talking to you during that time frame. They could Google up another agent and already be working with that agent. We don't want that happening. So if you create that website with the QR code, you're able to put it on your listing automatically. You're going to get connected to those clients a lot faster than the channel that you would have to go through going through the broker sites. Yes, Sean, I can absolutely send you your listing packet. If you wanted to send me an email, you'll see my email at the end of the slide, and I'll get you everything you need. Is the CRM free of charge? CRMs, everyone is differently, okay? So when these CRMs, they all have different increments of one. Now, there are some that have a smaller fee, but honestly, you have to go through and figure out which ones have different tools, because you'll have to find something that works for you. I teach a class that talks about how to manage your book of business, and we really dive in on CRMs. That class, I don't think I'll be teaching anytime soon here, but I do teach it at other associations. So if you want to reach out to me, I can get you in. I'll be teaching that next class. But CRMs, they all have different tools, and for you, there's just going to be some important things that you're going to want to have in those CRMs. And in that class, I will go over what are the most important things to have. Now, for me, I use one called Copper. I've been using it for 3 years now, and I am obsessed with it. But the reasons I love it the most is because it gives me the capability to customize it the exact way I wanted to. And that was something that was really important to me, because I created my system. Nobody gave me my system. I built it from scratch. And so when I was building it from scratch, I knew what was important to me, and that's how I was able to channel through and make sure that I was filtering it the way I needed it to. Awesome. So those are all really great ways of marketing a house. Now, you have to understand you don't have to do them all. These are all just tips. Now, every agent is differently. Everybody has different budgeting. So when it comes to you, the more you can do, the better. But at the bare minimum, I would say you need to at least have the QR codes. You need to at least have the custom websites. A social media post is so easy and it's free to do. The ads, you do need to pay, but if you don't have funds to pay for ads, it's okay. As long as you're posting on social media, you're doing the hashtags, that's a really great way. Videos is another fantastic thing you can do. You can use that app quick, and it will go over, or it's actually free. It will go over, that house from top to bottom with some really great music and makes it look really professional. And then campaigning to your sphere of influence is something free and easy to do. It's something you can do. Once we get back to open housing and door knocking, then I highly encourage you doing that. So even if you're a newer agent and you don't have funds for ads, and you don't have funds for doing brochures and Premier exposure or Google ads, and then it's okay. You can still do a lot of different marketing things, and they are still free. So in order to create a business page, you need to have a personal Facebook page. Now, I'm going to be super truthful. I'm sorry if you hate my answer, but I hate Facebook. I think it's awful. I think a lot of it now is just really political, but it's a great tool because there's still a lot of people who really love Facebook. And when you're going through, no, you don't have to manage a personal Facebook page. I personally don't. I only use it strictly for ads, and I only use it strictly for my business page. So you can do it that way, but every person is different. I'm sure there's people who still really, really love Facebook. For me, it's just not super fantastic, but I know that it's a great tool, and that's why I still continue using it in my business. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and jump into price, or comps price, and the pitfalls of overpricing. Was there any more questions on different marketing strategies? Awesome. So first and foremost, we need to get ready to do a CMA. This is also called a comparative market analysis. You might call it a market analysis, whatever you'd like to call it. It's basically just figuring out how this house is in the market that it's in and how much it might sell for. So the first step you're going to do is you're going to analyze the property. And by doing this, you're going to look at the area where the house is and the neighborhoods. You need to see the square footage of the house, the size of the lot, and see how big this house is compared to the neighborhood houses. You need to look up the bedrooms and bathrooms, any other additional rooms or amenities that it may have, how many floors it has, the year it was built, what types of features it has, what it's close to. I think that's a big part of it. What is this close to? Is it super far away from everything it needs to? No. Luckily, we're in the state of California, so we are super fortunate to pretty much have everything surrounded by us all the time. But there are other places where it's not so. Or you might be further out towards, the IE where there might not be as many amenities. So that plays factors into the house or what your house would be priced at. Recent or notable improvements, what a client invested in their house, if they've done any renovations, what those look like, um, previously sold and listed price. Now, this is big and important because, say for instance, I had a client that called me on, one of my realtor partners called me on Friday, and she's getting ready to do a listing for a $6 million house. And she was mentioning that the client had told her that he had bought the house for 2 million, but now he wants to list it at 6 million. Now, when it comes to doing a huge jump like that, it's really important to understand how people are arriving at what they believe their home values are. So paying attention to what they previously sold it to and now what they're going to have it to, those are really big informative things, and it needs to make sense. We're going to review online estimated values. Now, once again, remember, you're going to take these with a grain of salt because they're not super accurate, and you're going to do your homework to make sure that you're pulling actual true numbers. All right, now step 2. After you've already reviewed all that, you took all your notes on what this house is like, now we're going to search for the comparables. Every house is appraised by an appraiser, and the appraiser is going to search for houses that are comparable to the house that is being sold. Now, they're going to take in a lot of different factors into it. So they need to be very similar for them to be able to say it is a comparable. Now, what they're looking for more or less is going to be about the same number of bedrooms and baths within approximately 300 square footage in size and location of the neighborhood. Now, if there was a house that was further out but was still comparable, I always like to tell my agents, write down that property still. Because sometimes what happens is we may get an appraisal from an appraiser and they may have given us a lower value than what we were anticipating. Now, if that happens, what we need to do is justify how we arrived at that. So if you have all your list of comps as a backup and we do go through it where we have an appraisal come in low, then we can come back up to bat with this appraiser and say, hey, these are the other houses that we've seen that we still feel are very comparable to our particular house, and we would like you to revisit it. During this phase, we call it a, oh my god, not rebuttal, reconsideration. During our reconsideration, we are going to basically just say, we want you to take this more into consideration because we still feel that this is more comparable. Now, for the appraiser, they're going to say, okay, well, no, this one sold, a week ago, and that's why it's more comparable than yours. Or, yes, I do believe that this house is very comparable. And yes, I do agree with you saying it could be a higher value of where you're at. So those are pretty much how it happens. But hopefully that doesn't happen, but just know it can. And also explaining that during your consultation that that can happen is a great thing that you can talk about, that we're going to price your house very appealing or at as much as we possibly can. But if it does not come in that value, we will try and justify it with the comps that we believe are, strong and comparable to your house. Now, we also want to see if there's similar lot sizes, the age of the home, and the features. Some houses may have pools, and some houses, may have an extra big family room. These are all different things that add into it. Now, as the appraiser goes through, he adds checks and minuses, and we'll try and find out, okay, this one's more comparable and this one's not, and that's how they arrive at their value. So we're basically trying to do that on our own as well. We're also going to identify recently sold properties in the area and looked up by the sold listings online. Looking at the houses that recently sold are going to be more comparable than the houses that are listed. Now, the reason why is because when the appraiser looks at it, he needs to know that it actually closed at that amount. They also get to see if there was any closing costs credited. They also get to see, what the purchase price was. So that's all reported, and this is something that all appraisers look at. And that's something that they're going to weigh in. So you need to do the same thing. You need to look at houses that are recently sold and houses that are pending listings. Looking at past listings with a radius of 1 to 3 miles of your property. Searching for homes that were sold. So looking at past listings, which is the same thing, we want to have those past listings. Then we have search for homes that were sold in the last 3 months. Now, hopefully we don't have to go back 3 months, but if we do, it's okay. Now, houses, we're hoping that they're going to sell a lot more right now. I know that listings are down, but it's just because of the pandemic. And right now, it's our jobs as agents to go to these sellers and tell them it's still a great time to sell your house. If you still are looking into buying a new house, the rates are at an all-time low. You can benefit right now from being able to reach your goals a little bit easier. Then we're going to talk about okay, so then we're going to talk about when these houses are not finding comparables. So if you're not able to find comparables in what you guys are looking for, then you have to widen the map. Now, when you widen the map, you have to understand that it still needs to be relatively close to the house. And when we do this, sometimes it's going to come back that our values are really, really off. So when you have a situation like that, it's great for you to connect with your other partners, other realtor partners in your office to get their opinion on value, because sometimes you guys can work together as a team. Also talk to your broker. Your broker is a really great point of contact when it has questions to pricing and when you're not able to find recent comparables, because they'll tell you what you should be doing. Now, not every house doesn't have comps. Hopefully they do have at minimum some, but when they don't have any comps, then they keep widening the map until they do, which means that it may be out of the market of where this house is, which could dictate value and up, it can make it go up or down. Okay. Next step is step 3, determining your price and range. So when you're going through this market analysis, you're going to set a ceiling value. Now, you probably at this point might have not seen the house, or I don't know how agents are doing their listing presentations right now. I think they might be all doing them virtually because of COVID. But if you're in a consultation, obviously you can walk around the house and take a look at the house and be able to do that. But for some people who may not be able to do that, or maybe they're not doing that right now because of COVID, then you need to give them a gist of it, but you don't want to give them a hard number because you haven't seen the house in person. So if you're doing it virtually, then you want to give them a kind of value, but not super concrete. So that's why we go with giving them a ceiling value and a floor value. Now, of the comps that you selected, then you're going to take an average of those houses, taking into consideration their amenities and what they have versus what your home is offering. Now, if this home has less things, then obviously you'll price it a little bit lower. If it has more things, then you're going to price it a little bit higher. But there's so many different factors into it, and we'll go over those in a couple more slides on what dictates value and what doesn't. Then we're going to set a floor price. Now, same thing, we're going to look at those houses and we're going to set what the bare minimum is that we need to sell the house for. So when we're going through these with the clients, you just want to give them a just of the idea, because when we really see the house, that may change our idea of what we want to list the house at compared to what is out on the market actively and what has sold on the market recently. All right, so step 4, if you haven't already, you're going to do an in-person meeting. You're going to take a look at everything. You're going to see if there was anything that maybe needed to be repaired. You're going to look at the outside of the house. You're going to see what upgrades might be needed. And you're going to take note of all of these different things because they all play factors into what the home's value will be. Now, hopefully after you've gone through, you've already talked to them about just a bit numbers. They're already starting to feel it. Now you move into the stages of determining the value. Now, based off of everything that you've pulled, all of the analysis and every pool of data that you have to make an educated choice of what you believe the house is worth. Now, everything is up to interpretation. So every agent might have a different answer of what they believe the home's value is. But ultimately, when you have your homework and you've done your part, then you should be able to figure out, okay, well, these houses are sold at this, this house is sold at this, our house is very in the middle from here, and now we're going to set it at this amount because it's very in the middle between these two houses, and that's where I feel like it should be listed at. Now, if you go through your consultation and they don't agree with pricing, then it's very great for you to go back and review over the market analysis with them. And if you can do it in a consultation with them, it makes it a little bit easier to justify why you're writing at those market values. Now, if you're trying to do this and you go into the appointment at the same time, you may be kind of stuck because you're going through and you're writing all yours down. So I recommend doing it beforehand, having it ready, and then reviewing it from top to bottom with the agents so that you guys are arriving at a value together versus you arriving at a value and then not feeling out what they're seeing. Now, when you're going through the analysis, you want them to say, okay, this is what this house looks like at this price. Okay, this is what this house looks like at this price. These are all the amenities that this one has. This is all the amenities that this one has. And then this is what your house is like, right? Once they can see it all plain and clear, then they see how you arrived at that value and they're more likely to agree with that value versus you telling them, okay, here's my market analysis. This is what I believe your house is worth, right? Because now I haven't built up that rapport. We didn't go through and investigate together, so they can't see how I arrived at that. So doing that together, it makes it so much easier on you. So when you have time to go through it on your own, at least know what you're talking about and then do it together with them in a consultation. So what affects pricing? Location. Homes are more desirable in certain neighborhoods. They may have, shopping or movie theaters or just lots of different things that they want to. Now, if they do have way more amenities, then chances are the prices are higher. The condition of the home. Is the house updated? Does it need updates? Are there things falling apart? What needs to be addressed? That all plays into what affects the price. The market of the house. Now, if houses are not selling in a particular area, maybe the crime rate, maybe there's been stuff going on in that neighborhood, that all plays into a house is market and what it's going to sell for. So it's best that we take a look at what the whole surrounding neighborhoods look like and we know what's going on in that particular market because every market is different. I always tell my clients that I regroup with them once per year to give them a home analysis on their house because every year your house will grow equity differently. And there may be some areas where, once again, because of the location, that people are trying to migrate that way. Now, in where we're at, people are migrating to Los Angeles, they're migrating to Orange County because obviously that's a very prime area to be in. But because of the cost of living in Los Angeles County and the cost of living in Orange County, what's going on is that people can't afford those houses any longer. So they're moving out further towards the IE area. Now, the IE area previously, if we were looking at this about 5 years ago, the market was very different. Now you look at it now, it's thriving because of what's going on in. So even not even just looking at where your market is, but looking at the surrounding markets and understanding what's going on with them, it makes you know what you're talking about, or makes you look like you know what you're talking about, and you should understand how this works because it's your job to understand. And terms. Your terms can affect how your home is priced. So if you want to do a very quick sale, then that may dictate how your home is priced because we need to price it appealing so that somebody is willing to put an offer in quickly. Now, if you price your highs too high, then they're less enticed to work with you. So we need to understand that terms can also play a factor into what we're paying the house. If a house also too needs tons of repairs, the chances are clients are not going to want to pay full price. And if they don't want to pay full price, then you need to understand what you can do so that you can figure out how to get full price. Or if you're okay with not taking full price, then they need to understand how we're going to structure it. Now, what does not affect pricing? So cost. How much they pay for the house doesn't make a difference. A lot of times you may hear clients say, well, I paid this for this, and I did this for this. Well, granted, if it was renovations and things like that, yes, that can help a home's value increase, but it's not ever a dollar for dollar amount. So if a client told you I put in $25,000 to put in a new pool, they're not going to see a $25,000 adjustment in an appraisal value. That's just not how it will work. Now, the cost is more so, when they're trying to dictate what the house is worth based off of what it has and where it is in the market. proceeds, how much they need to net to make the sale, usually doesn't make a difference. Really, I think a lot of times clients are hoping to basically win $1 million is what I kind of like to think about, but you need to give them the realities of what it's going to cost to do business with you, what the cost is of things that they're going to incur, and what their net proceeds will be after all of those expenses, because selling a house is not free. And they need to understand that it's not free, but when you go over your marketing strategies, you're going to talk about the cost of what those things are. Hopefully you can build up enough case where they can see the value in what you're offering and understand that it does cost to sell a house. The collateral, how much do you make on your property makes no difference. So, or how much you owe on your property makes no difference. Now, what you owe on your house isn't going to play a factor into it. So even if they owe almost all of it still, that's not going to affect their home's value. Now, their opinion is always very, very strong, and people always feel that what they see is what they believe. But if you build enough value and you go over everything top to bottom, they're going to understand where you're arriving, and you guys can come up to a happy medium for everybody to win. All right. So the benefits of proper pricing and the drawbacks of overpricing. Now, I see it happen time and time again where agents are still overpricing houses, and it's just a part of what goes on. I think a lot of time people are hoping to get the top dollars so that their seller's netting the same amount and they're earning a big commission, but that doesn't always help every person, and that's not the best solution. So we want to make sure we're pricing the house at the perfect price point so that the house sells faster, because people are watching it. They want to see houses in their price range, and if it's priced too high and you're now blocking out other clients from being able to look at that house because it was priced too high, then you're going to lose out on selling that house faster. Sorry, I'm going to grab some water. All right. Sorry about that, guys. I had to get some water. It's been a long class. So the next we're going to talk about the inconvenience. Properly pricing homes on the market for less time means fewer showings or disruptions. So if it's not priced right, then they're not going to want to go and look at those houses, which means that people are less than likely to buy it. Increase agent exposure. Agents are always excited to show houses that are priced exactly where they need to. Agents will also do their due diligence and check their stuff. Oh my goodness, I keep coughing. They're going to make sure that they're checking comps on every offer that a client is going to submit. When they are doing this, this is to also make sure that they're offering you market value. So if you're not at value and another agent sees that you're not at value, they're not going to send you in a full offer price, because they also did their homework and they believe that maybe that appraisal might not come in. And agents know these types of things, so they're going to be thinking about that as their clients are submitting offers as well. Increase prospecting exposure. So we want to get as many prospects as possible. If we have it priced right, then prospects are going to want to flock to the house. They're going to want to make sure that they're in that house to view it and seeing that that's the house they want because it's priced properly. And hopefully, if you do price your house at value, many people will want to flock to it, and you may be in a multiple offer situation where you're now going through and trying to select the highest offer out of all of the offers that you selected. Okay, now the drawbacks of overpricing. So hopefully you don't overprice your house, but it happens, and it happens to the best of us. So it usually equates to you not having a lot of people looking into your house, or they may view it, but then see that it's overpriced and then say, no, it's not worth that. So then they don't even want to go and review it, or they don't even want to submit offers. Now, overpriced homes usually equates to less buyers as well, additional hurdles for buyers. So if we do an overpricing, then a client needs to qualify for those higher loan amounts. And if they don't qualify, then chances are they're less likely to be able to do that transaction. Affects perceived value. Buyers will expect more from your home than it offers. So what that means is that when you're doing this and your home's value is not what it needs to be, the buyers are going to expect that it has a higher value, and it may equate to you having to do repair costs and have to increase, seller's credits to help alleviate that because you overpriced a house, but now they need to get repairs done on these houses, and that might not be the best situation. Overpriced homes make other homes look like better deals. That's super true. If they see a house that looks very comparable to your house, but your house is priced higher, chances are they're going to go with the other house because they still look relatively the same, or they may have the same offer and amenities, but your house was just priced too high. And then it presents the appraisal hurdle. So once again, we want to make sure that the appraisals come in at value, and if very few instances, these appraisals come in low. When these appraisals come in low, it's just a bad situation all around. So we want to prevent that from happening. But if it does, you want to make sure that you're still able to negotiate a good enough deal for your clients. And if you were overpricing, then you may have also overpriced them on their net sheet. Now, when it comes to the net sheets, also reach out to an escrow officer when you're getting these net sheets. They will make sure that you have all of the accurate figures on there so that if this does happen and you maybe do need to do a reduction in price, that you know what your seller is still going to net and your seller is still happy with what they're going to net. Oh my goodness, my throat is all bananas. All right, let's jump into justifying your commission. So you may hear a client saying, well, you're making too much in a commission. Usually when they're looking at the net sheet is when they're saying, wait a minute, why are you making this amount of money in commissions? So it's important to explain what goes in that commission, right? So first and foremost, you need to tell them about who gets paid from the commissions, right? They're not only paying for your commission, but they're also paying for the buyer's commission. So if you can explain that this is what is going to be happening, a lot of times they're like, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. Now, you also want to go through what some of those, what it costs to do the business of what you need to do. And those are usually your marketing expenses, and that's something that you pay for upfront. Now, as a newer agent, we've just talked about how a lot of those are free, but for somebody who's trying to get maximum market exposure and you start to become a more established agent, your goal will be to have the best of the best marketing and an amazing marketing plan. And also you can call it a premium marketing plan because it really is premium when you're doing it right and you're doing it well. So when you're talking to your clients, you have to explain the cost of doing all of that. And it's not cheap. And if they can see that these are all the things being done and those are all the things that are being paid for, then it's easier to explain and justify why your commission is at value. Now, when you're going through the value of doing all these different things, it's all about the exposure. The more exposure, the more enticed people are wanting to go and look at the house, which means that there are more people who want to submit offers. Right now, we are very fortunate, but we're very fortunate that there are so many buyers that for many listings, you're not having to have the house wait very long. They're probably getting multiple offers on each individual house, but this too shall pass. And we may be going back into where listings are just come and go and they're there and they're available, but it may switch to a selling market or to a buyer's market. We don't know what the future holds. But if you can understand what is going to be for you and understanding your value and pitching your value, you're always going to make sure you're doing a good job. Now, if the seller is still saying they don't trust or they don't believe that you're worth what you're saying, now you can explain to them, okay, well, this is my premium market plan, and that provides you with a massive exposure and results in the maximum net price to you. If you want to pay a lower commission, I'll be happy to introduce you to an agent who offers or who provides limited services rather than premium services. But you have to understand the difference between that agent and how I do my business, and I don't leave anything left unturned. And if you can say it like that, they're going to say, okay, that person knows what she's talking about. She's worth the money that she is charging, and I know that she's going to do everything in her power to make sure I get the top dollar for listings. Okay, jumping into number 2, we're on a financial fix. Now, this really actually may be the case. They might be on a financial fix, but it's important to show listings that have expired to buyers so that they can understand what goes on with commissions and the mindset behind agents and when they're prospecting with their buyers. Now, I know that this is always such an ugly thing to talk about, but it's the truth, and we have to be understanding of that. So if you pop open your MLS and you show them the listings that are expired, chances are many of the expired listings went under contract, but because of where the commission was sitting at, those are the ones that didn't get. Now, when you explain to a buyer or to your seller that agents usually go by the commissions when they're showing their buyers a house, it's ugly, but it's the truth. And so if they see that a commission is lower on a house, because of all the work that they do, they're less enticed to show it to a client because they know they're not getting paid what they're worth. And agents work very, very hard. This isn't taken lightly. You are selling a piece of property. If you do it wrong, you could cost yourself thousands and thousands of dollars. So it's super important to work with somebody who knows what they're talking about and who also is going to fight to make sure you get the best deal possible and at the top dollar possible. So that's another great way of being able to do it. Now, when you okay, another great thing you can say is you pay a commission only when your property sells. And when your listing doesn't sell, the amount of commission you negotiated is irrelevant. So I agree with that so much. I think that if you don't have it at a good point and you're not justifying it, people don't want to work with you. So they don't want to sell, your listing isn't going to sell if you don't have it at the right price point and you're not even going to make anything to begin with. So we got to get through one hurdle before we can get to the next. Okay, now I've seen a couple of questions in here. Sorry. Okay, let's go to the next one. You know what? I can share my slideshow with you, Kelly. I know that you said you missed up one. No problem. I'll get that out to you as soon as the class is over. If you want to email me, my contact info will be on the end. Ah, Judy, that's a fantastic question. So Judy's question is, if the homeowner is insisting on their price and is not and not our professional opinion based on the market analysis, how do you save the listing? So that's a fantastic question. What you would do at that point is that you can always tell them that you can list their home for a limited amount of time with the price that they believe. If the house sits, then you know that the house is not worth what they're saying. If you can come up with an agreement, okay, well, why don't we list it at 500,000 and we'll keep it like that for 20 days. Let's see how it does. Let's see if we get any offers. Let's see if we can get people to. Now, if at that point you don't have any person that is interested in your home, then we know that we're priced too high. It shouldn't take us more than 20 days to get our house list or to get people at least having a conversation of submitting offers or even looking into the offers or considering putting offers. If it's priced too high, they're not going to want to do that. So it's always great to just say, okay, let's try it this way. But if it doesn't work, which it probably won't, then you can reduce it back down to what you believe the home's value is. Or you can tell them we will reevaluate and have a second conversation if it doesn't get any bites. And when they see it like that, they're going to say, okay, well, if she knows what she's talking about, then she'll be correct. Or if the house does get some bites and you do get it, then fantastic, you were able to get it sold for a higher purchase price. But at least if you do it that way, you're not taking away what their goals are, but you can hopefully give them a little bit of reality check. Because when those houses are priced higher, they're not going to have activity. And you'll see that very quickly that you won't have activity if they're priced too high. I hope that answered your question. All right, let's go ahead and jumping into proper expectations. So the biggest expectations, I think, when it comes to talking to your sellers is talking about the closing costs of what they're going to be paying. So there's a couple things that they're going to be responsible for, but it's best that you talk about this in the upfront consultation than you do later on, because when they see all these fees, this depletes what they're going to net. And for sellers, that's a big deal. So the first one is going to be title insurance. This protects the buyer if, God forbid, somebody was come back later on and say they want the house back and that they still have claims to it. Then there's an escrow fee. Usually it's customary for the seller and the buyer to split the fee and they pay their own. And then we have preparing for document preparation. So every escrow charges different fees, but they could charge a document preparation fee. If they do, then that's included in that amount. Notary fees for anything that they need to get notarized is going to be a charge for them. Recording charges for all documents in the buyer's names. Now, that's not something that, oh, sorry, these are all buyers. Oh my goodness, I was going to say, wait a minute, those are right. Seller fees. All right, my apologies. A couple more questions coming in. Let's see here real quick. Okay, so sorry, switch that. The next slide will be talking about the sellers and what they need to be paying, but this is talking about what the buyers will typically be paying. So when they go through these negotiations, this will all be written up on the contract, but for these fees, these are all what the buyer would pay, and this is something that they're going to need to pay if they are relocating into a new home. It's something that they're going to have charged to them. So it will also deplete what they could apply for their down payment amount. And usually when a seller is netting a certain amount of proceeds, their chances are they want to re-put that into the new home, or at least as much as possible, so that they can get their payment relatively close to what they're probably paying now. And I'd say 9 out of 10 times that's what I have been going through with my sellers and buyers, is that they want to be able to get into a payment that is relatively close to where they're at, but they just want a bigger house. They use their net proceeds to put as much money down on their new home so that they're able to qualify for a bigger house and be able to stay relatively close to their payment goal. So these are all the fees that they're going to have as a buyer. They also have tax prorations, any loan charges, appraisal fees, interest, assumptions of the loans. They'll also have prorated HOAs, inspection fees, home warranties, transfer tax, and hazard insurance for the full first year. Now the seller is going to be paying the real estate commissions. They also might have preparation for deeds, document transfer tax, which is usually split between both parties, payoffs for all the loans that they own. We also want to make sure that we're getting title checked up front. We need to see if any other person is on title. We need to see if there's any liens on there. If they took out anything for a hero loan, or like to get windows done or air conditioning, things like that, that all can be tied to title. Those all need to be paid off with the sale of the home. So when we're doing our title searches, that's what we're looking for to make sure we're including in the payoff amounts. A home warranty, any judgments or liens, that's what we just talked about. Property tax prorations, which they're going to be having be responsible for the property tax of all the time that they lived in the house, and then the buyer will assume it from the moment that they move on or move into the home and onward. Then we have prorated HOAs. Usually, I'd probably say the sellers pay the HOAs more time often than not, because I think the buyers always ask for it. HOAs providing all updated owners for the documents, if applicable. Bonds and assessments, hopefully they don't have any of that on there. Any delinquent tax amounts, hopefully they paid all their taxes, but if they didn't, then they're going to be added into there. Then they'll also have the third-party natural hazard disclosure statements and pre-sale inspections, negotiating credits from the buyer. Now, I know that sometimes sellers don't like to pay for a buyer's closing costs, but if they're getting a buyer where they only have one buyer who is interested in putting an offer in their house, and they're asking for some closing costs, and the seller is still netting the same amount, then it really isn't going to hurt them to be able to move forward and give them those closing cost credits. Now, I always suggest to my buyers that if you need closing costs, to go over asking price so that they're able to get that without depleting the seller's net proceeds. But every person is a little bit differently, and everyone's situation is differently. For each individual house, that house may need to work with that particular offer because they're not having any other offers. So if that's the case, then just know, be flexible with credits, and also help your sellers to be flexible with credits, because sometimes it's better to just make the deal work versus you closing it off because you don't want to give a credit. And then negotiating the repairs. Now, hopefully the house doesn't need tons of repairs, but as a buyer, they're able to request for repairs or request for a credit. So it's really great for strong realtors to come together and find compromises that work for both parties, and for agents to work against each other, because ultimately none of us get paid if we don't find something that's a happy medium for everyone. So it's better if we all work together and find something that works for every person, so we can close out our transactions without any hiccup. All right, jumping into handling objections. Is there any questions on what the buyers are going to have to anticipate, or the sellers are going to have to anticipate in fees? Good. All right, handling objections. Another agent offered to list my home for less. So something you can say is, unfortunately, I'm not able to cut my commission. This is a standard that I charge and I give my clients full service. And I want to give you my full service as well. If you'd like to hire me as your agent, I would love to sell your home. And for clients, when they hear things like that, that makes them so excited to hear that you're motivated, to hear that you're going to do nothing to stop but sell their home, or nothing. You're going to do everything you possibly can to sell their home. Or you can say something like, there are a lot of agents who are willing to cut the commissions, but I don't advise that we go with a discount, or that you go with a discounted agent. They're likely to have less involvement, or and your house may not be able to sell and be able to get marketed the way it needs to. Now, I always like to also talk about how agents are who are like internet agents, like Purple Bricks, or somebody who can go and list their house. They have to understand that they are strictly just listing it on the MLS. They're not marketing it. They're not prospecting for clients. They're not reaching out to their sphere of influence. They are just strictly putting the house on the MLS. Now, not every person has access to the MLS when they're searching for houses. Usually they're looking for agents to do that, and not every agent is going to be showing them every house. They do it based off of commission. So really, it's not just one part of it. The MLS is only one small portion of what you need to do to sell a house. There are so many different things that you need to do to market that house so that it gets the exposure and it gets the offers that it needs, so that you're getting top dollar. And when you pitch it like that, you're telling them, yes, you could technically do it for cheaper. There's always going to be cheaper. But when you go to the grocery store, do you buy the off-brand stuff that tastes like kind of garbage, or do you buy the name brand stuff that is going to be satisfying what I want? Or, and granted, yes, you can save a little bit of money, but it's not worth it when you're trying to get top dollar for what you need. All right, the next objection that you might face is, I really want to work with you, but can you give me a discount? Now, something that you can do is, yes, you can. You can always give a discount, but your commission is negotiable and you can always negotiate it the best way possible. But something I suggest doing is that if the house sells relatively fast, then the marketing expenses are usually relatively small. And we went over many of the marketing strategies that you can do that are free and that don't cost you anything. So when it comes to those, try and use those. Those should be your automatics. But if you want to really market a house and really do a good job, it costs. And so you need to tell your seller, yes, we could potentially do it, but if your home doesn't sell in 2 weeks, you have to understand that my marketing expenses are still going to be there. And I need to take care of all of this so that your house gets marketed and we get the top dollar for it. Once they understand that, then, hopefully it sells in 2 weeks. But if not, they understand that this will be at a full commission, but you've overcome the objection of, okay, well, what about now? Because they want to hear yes now versus you trying to justify why not. And then another alternative is you're bringing in your own buyer, you can always reduce your commission so that you can do both transactions and still be able to or help your client benefit from saving a little bit of money. So every person wants to tell what their commission is different, but if you reduce it by even 1% just so that you can do a double end on both ends, you're going to make way more money doing it that way versus you trying to pitch them on saying for 2 commissions. And most of the times, if you are doing your own buyer, I mean, goodness, those are amazing deals. So you want to get it done as quickly as possible. We are meeting with the 2 agents, and then we will be making our decision. Now, you have to understand you may be competing, and that's okay, because remember, you did your due diligence, you did your homework up front, you presented value, and you knew what you were talking about, so ultimately you know that you did them justice. Now, if they do say that they may be meeting with another few agents, it's great to ask them what they're looking for in an agent. Because maybe they're like, well, we want an agent that will, sell it for less commission, or we want an agent that will do it. They're going to tell you what they're looking for, and then you can go back in and go over those objections and readdress them and making sure that you're telling them why you're the best agent to work with. Now, the next, or another suggestion you can do is, it sounds like you want to work with an agent that doesn't have your best interest, or that you want to work with it that doesn't have a best interest in mind, do you? how would you describe the right agent for you? Now, when they go through this, it's great for them to once again explain it, but you always want to make it seem like you're the best agent to work with, and other agents may not give them the due diligence that they deserve. And when you justify that you're going to be making sure that you touch on every single thing, they don't have a reason to go elsewhere because you've already addressed every concern, you've touched on everything that was important to them, and you hit it all 360. Okay. Then we just wanted to find out what our home price was. We'll let you know if we decide to list. Now, a lot of times, kind of, you get these looky-loo clients that just want to hear what you have to say, but they just don't want to move or they're not motivated. So, going back to their motivation of why they're selling is a great thing that you can do is really touch back on. Well, you had said that you wanted to sell your home for this, and this reason. And I understand that goal. I want to help you reach that goal. And it sounds like you want to get the best price for your house. So what price range are you hoping to get, and wait for them to respond, or let them say what they were, or hopefully you remember from what they told you that they previously wanted to, and you just got to reintegrate that back in the conversation. We can always put your home on the market, and if you don't get your asking price, then we can take it off, which is another suggestion that I made when we got that question from one of our listeners. So I know that a lot of times when you're going through these conversations, you're just trying to loop in goals, and you're trying to make sure that you've addressed everything that was a concern for them. But if they're just those looky-loo clients, you need to keep pushing them that this is the time to sell now, and this is what your home is for today, but it may be different tomorrow. If we don't get your house on the market, how are we going to know that your house is, going to be sold? And we want to make sure that your home gets sold because that was the goal that you had. So we need to at least get our foot in the door. Let's see what the house is looking like and see if we're able to get offers in. And then 9 out of 10 times, if they get through the phases of just listing it, once they start seeing offers coming in, it really adjusts their realities because now they have real tangible offers on their house. They're really seeing true numbers because they're saying, okay, well, I'm, got an offer for this amount. I would net this amount. I can use this amount to put down on my house, and I would be in this amount of payment. So now it's getting closer and closer to my goals, and it's really making me want to then move forward with it because now I have that closer to me. So an other agent told us we could get a lot more for our home. Now, we've already talked about the dangers of overpricing, but it's important that you let the agents know or the clients know that they even more about the dangers of overpricing. Now, these comparables, or this is something that you can say, these comparables show what market is willing to pay for your home right now. And at the end of the day, we're going to list it at whatever price you want. But I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't tell you if we list too high, you'll be placing your home in a lower end at a higher price range. At that price, at higher price range, buyers will be comparing your home to others and more amenities and features. Now, when you give them that little bit of a tip, they're like, it kind of makes them think about it, right? Well, what are other homes looking like at the price point that I want? And if you have the MLS popped up and you can show them what other houses look like, a lot of times clients can be truthful with themselves and see, okay, well, that house is really, really, really nice. And my house is nice, but it's not like really, really, really nice. And that house is priced the same, right? And when you show them things like that, they're able to see it pretty plain and clear, which is my house is probably not worth what I think it's worth because that house is worth what I think it's worth. And if a client had to go between choosing that house and choosing my house, even I would probably choose the other house because it had more amenities and I'm looking at the price point of where it's at. And so when you kind of give them that reality, it makes them think, okay, all right, let me come down a little bit, right? And let me adjust my expectations so that I get what I need to get done and I'm not shooting myself in the foot going too over on pricing and I'm not spending time and wasting energy on something that's not going to go through. Another thing you can say is you'll also miss out on the traffic that comes with buyers searching for homes in the price range that the market says your home is worth at. So this is a great reality too, is that letting them know how buyers search for houses and what ranges they look at. Every client is usually searching between, like a hard number of maybe like between 400,000 to 410,000 to 415,000 to 4, in increments of about 5,000. And so when they're looking for that, if you have your house price slightly higher, then you're not going to be able to be where those buyers are looking at that may be the most qualified for that particular house. So we don't want to do that. We want to avoid that at all costs, and we want to be priced exactly where we need to, so that you don't waste time and energy. So that is the end of our class. I'm so sorry, I know we went a little bit over. This was a really lot of great information. I hope that you guys found value in everything that you guys have learned today, and I hope it helps you grow your businesses for the future. I will be giving out the slideshow to any person who would like it. So you can see my email address on here. I know there was a couple people who wrote their email addresses in the chat box. I will not respond to those messages just because I have to go back all the way through, and we're probably going to end this class right now. But if you email me directly, I will respond to every person today with a link to with a copy of the slideshow. If you would like a copy of the listing presentations that I offer a few different ones I can show you. I also have, some great, I've told you about a lot of great tools, and if you guys would like more information on those tools that I've talked to you guys about today, please feel free to email me, and I will get you guys links to where you guys can access all of that. But other than that, thank you guys so much for joining in today. I cannot thank you guys enough for having such a great class. I think we have some people coming in.
Thank you, Amanda. That was a lot of great information.
Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so sorry my throat's been all raspy. I think I'm talking so much. But thank you guys. Every person, you guys were also fantastic.
So we'll see you October 22nd.
October 22nd, yes. Thank you so much, Laura. I appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too. Bye, everyone.
Bye.